Dodge fans and keyboard warriors, don't watch this video. We're gonna trigger you. Today we're gonna fix the fuel system on the Dodge with Chevy Parts. Yeah, that'll make this clapped out pile better. Mopar, no car, baby. All right, sliding under the truck here, we have the plastic frame mounted tank. So we're working on our strap bolts here. Basically, there's just a threaded end on the end of this strap that comes up through this hole, and then a nut will come down and pinch it, and that's what holds the tank up. This one and the one up there, the one right there, broke loose. I missed that there's a third one. That one looks treacherous. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. I pre-sprayed these up with penetrant to get them to break loose, and they did break loose pretty nicely. But when you're taking these off, do it with a hand tool. You can really feel if that nut's getting bound up on the threads or not. Basically what's gonna happen, it's so old, it's so rusty, it's so crusty, that once you're taking it off, you're gonna feel a tight spot. Like right there, that got pretty tight. We're gonna flip it and we're gonna run it back down. Basically what's happening, the reason why it's getting tight is there's so much rust built in the threads there that it's just pinching itself in between your thread and your nut. So what I've been doing is I'll back it off, wipe it off a little bit, and then spray it down with more penetrant. This is the best way to do it if you're gonna save your hardware. If you just got in there and just ran them off, there's a good chance you break them, or you're gonna twist up your gas tank strap and snap it that way. So, and we're gonna keep working at all these very slowly to try to get them to come off in one piece. All right, our back two straps are loose. This one is gonna be a nightmare. I'm not sure exactly how we're gonna be able to get in there to get to that one. That ought to be really interesting. You ever just have a moment when you're working on something old and you just, you just wish you could talk to the engineer. Why on earth did you design it like this? Like, even looking under here, there's our fuel line, right? That runs up. Oh, it comes outside. Oh, it goes to this rubber hose. Now, mind you, this rubber hose, at least on this side, is factory. That's a factory clamp. That is not. Someone's been in here before. So, what Mopar people, why run it on the outside of the frame, run a rubber hose out, disintegrate and break, just to, put it back on the inside of the frame? What's the logic behind that? Look, you're right here and you're right there, just bloop, bloop, done. What's the idea of coming out here, putting a rubber hose here to put it back? I mean, was it supposed to be like a service point? That was harder than it had to be. I can tell you that for free. Currently working on trying to slowly get all these screws out. They're covered with so much junk. I really don't want to have to drill them out if I don't have to, so I'll come back in here with a pick and just kind of pick that out a little bit more, see if I can get a better bite with the screwdriver head. Like I said, I'm just coming in here with the edge of this pick here and just kind of trying to work in it to get all the junk and stuff out of it. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to drill these out. Alright, so that ended up working. Let's pull this guy out. I'm curious to see what we're gonna... Oh, good Lord. Wow. What on earth is that? What was that, at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean? Oh, let me bring it in for you guys. Look at this. There were some of you that were asking when we did a short a few months back when I was trying to track down some parts for this thing. And I was asking where I could find a sending unit and another tank. And some of you guys were like, well, how could there be rust in a plastic tank? That. The fact the truck even ran, that is... Wow. All right, we got our fuel tank here. We did do a live stream the other day of me cleaning this out and kind of taking a look at some things. If you guys want to go watch that, I'll leave that linked over here. You can go check that out if you want. All of you that did stop by, once again, do really appreciate it. We do have some things that we have to figure out and resort out, starting with this. This is that filler neck. The inside of it rotted out, so it looks like that. So that's junk. The only thing it seems that I can find to get my hands on is the new sending unit. But I got thinking, and I'm wondering if there's a better solution for now. I do have this metal square body tank here that John down at Arcan Customs gave us when we bought the crew cab. I wonder if I could get away with making this tank work in the truck until I can track down all the right stuff for that. The fact that it's a Chevy tank, putting it in the Dodge is ultimately going to upgrade the Dodge. Because, you know, Dodges are junk, so any Chevy parts you can put on, it's just going to make it a better truck altogether, right? That was a joke, by the way. Dodge guys, don't get offended. It was just a joke, all right? It was a funny. It was a funny. Getting back on track here, let's talk about the differences between the square body tank and the Dodge tank. One of the biggest differences is the vent tube is actually on the back of the tank here. You saw that grommet before on the plastic tank up here, so that's the difference. Also, another big difference is our fuel inlet size. I've never seen one this small on a square body. It's only like an inch to inch and a half. I do have this hose here that fits. Obviously, this hose isn't supposed to be the proper filler neck, but I think with some routing stuff, I think we can try to make that work. And then the biggest, other biggest thing is going to be our top here. This is to tell our, you know, our fuel gauge that, hey, there's fuel in the tank off the sending unit. I have another one of these that we could plug in. I just don't know if I wire it in with the Dodge one, if it's going to function, but there's only one way to find out. One thing that I saw that was the same was where our straps go. They're pretty much in the same exact location, but instead of having 3, we're only going to have 2, which might solve the issue with how annoying it is to get the front one in. So I might not even have to put the front one back in it. Looking at our fuel sending unit here, this one's a little crusty as well, but this one doesn't freak me out as much. I think we can clean that up and put that back in the service. I do have a new seal, so we'll put my new seal on it. Inside the tank doesn't look that bad. There's a little bit of debris, but we'll get the vacuum in there. We'll clean that all up, and we'll clean this guy up, and I think we'll be in business. Alrighty, after a quick cleaning, she is ready to go in. So let's slide it under the truck and see if it fits up or not. Oh, by golly, there's a square body tank in there. We had to get creative with our fuel sending neck that comes out to the back side of the tank, but it's all there and it works. That is a little high, so some of the fuel does kind of sit in that. I had to fabricate this back bracket here. Kind of can't see because it's dark, but the original one wasn't long enough, so I fabricated one that was long enough. We're able to reuse this one. I had to refabricate a bracket up here to kind of get it to just hold, because this one was just short. But it's in there and it's solid. She don't move, boys. So I guess that'll be our fix for right now. Now I want to be very, very clear on this. That is a very temporary solution. The only reason why that tank went in there was because I couldn't find the parts and or didn't want to spend the money on the fuel sending unit. The fuel sending unit for the plastic tank was like $80. If it can literally just get me around town and at least to your mom's house, we're good to go. But for this tank, basically what's going to happen moving forward is I'm going to have to start scavenging some parts out of junkyards and whatnot, seeing if I can come up with some better stuff. That also gives me time while it's all out of the truck, like brackets like that. I'm going to clean them up. I also should see if I can track down just another bracket altogether, because that one's pretty much toast. So putting the square body tank in is just going to give me the time to track down this stuff, clean some stuff up, and get it painted. With that all being said, let's get some fuel in the tank And then I guess we'll replumb. We'll get rid of our temporary jug here and see if this thing will run off the tank again. Running out of fuel. I'm gonna have to keep bottle feeding it until it wants to get some fuel up. It might take it a little bit. So the biggest issue that I think we're currently having with this is that I don't know what it is about these Dodges, but they're just cantankerous, and it is hard to get fuel from the tank up to the carb when the whole system is empty. This truck even has tendencies when you first go to start it after it's sat for a while, it'll sit there and crank for a good 45 seconds until it finally gets fuel, and it'll fire off the first time or two. Then you have to let the, you know, the old dying dolphin starter calm down and then hit it again, and then it'll usually take off. We're seeing that we do have some fuel finally starting to come up from the tank, but it's not quite running. So to make sure that there's no air pockets in it, the best way to do that is let the mechanical fuel pump run and pull all that fuel. So here's what we're gonna do. I have this vent tube on the side of our carburetor here, so I've been feeding fuel into this, which is gonna keep feeding fuel to the engine that's filling the bowl. I have our feed line that goes to the carburetor off. It's tucked in this hose. Then that's gonna run it down into that jug. And basically what we're looking to do here is, as this runs, pump the fuel in until we get a steady flow. Once we get a steady flow, we'll shut it down. I'll take our feed line, put it back in the carb. Shut that on its own. All right, so mechanical fuel pump is now pumping. I'm assuming there was an air pocket stuck in it because I was watching it. Yeah, look how much that filter's filled up. Nice. So this thing's still having issues. What I'm gonna do, because I don't know how much junk ran through this entire system, I'm gonna pull the carb. We're gonna drop the bowl out of it. I'm gonna clean it out just because I assume there's probably gonna be junk in there. Just have that, you know, gut feeling. Now this isn't an original carb. This is I don't know, it's one of those cheap Amazon ones for like 70 or 75 bucks, something like that. It's worked really good. It's been on the truck for, heck, close to a year now. And it's always fired up and ran when it needed to, and ran good, besides some of the, you know, fuel issues. So if you guys want one of these, I'll try to remember to leave a link down in the description if you're working on one of these trucks and you need to pick up a cheap 2-barrel carburetor. Honestly, it's to the point where it's almost worth buying this carburetor than buying a rebuild kit. As suspected, the filter did not stop all the rust from getting in. So we'll clean that out, we'll blow through everything, and reassemble it and put it back on. All right, probably like an hour and a half later. I messed up big time, boys. So when I pulled this apart, and I actually reassembled it and everything, thought we were good to go, there was a check ball inside this. I lost it. Don't know where it went. But what that check ball actually did was, if you come in here and look at our floats, when the float bowl comes all the way up, because the level, basically these floats, when the fuel's in there, it'll raise these floats. Well, what I screwed up was that check ball goes in here. I think there was a little bracket with it. Like I said, I'm not sure where all the hardware went, which it's driving me nuts. But that guy screws in like that. Basically, when these float bowls come up, that armature comes up. And there's a check ball in there that basically stops this from over fueling. Because basically, if it comes to a point where there's nothing to stop it, it's going to keep dumping fuel in, whether the float bowls are all the way up or not. Fills the bowl up and then starts dumping in. And basically, bad news, you're flooding the heck out of the engine, and things are not functioning the way that they should function. So because I was awesome and lost those parts on myself, I had to come up with another solution here, and I'll show you that in a second. My solution was drop a whole other carburetor on it. This is an old Rochester 2-jet. It was left over from the old 283. I had to make a lot of modifications to make this work, but miraculously, it bolts right on. If I was smart and didn't lose the hardware for this one, it happens. All right, it's a Monday when I'm currently filming this. You know how Mondays go. They're bad. I did pull the top off in the bowl and stuff. It was like immaculately clean. I was very, very impressed to see that. So I think this thing's hopefully gonna function and work. Make that up. That's impressive. I pulled the car back off here because I noticed it has a vacuum leak. And if I can get it flipped over and oriented for you guys. See how the gasket on the backside of the carb, obviously different. You can see where those holes kind of match up. And basically what's happening is it's got a vacuum leak right across those. This is the old gasket. If you're wondering what I'm doing with the RTV, I'm filling those holes to basically stop the vacuum leak. I'm hoping that'll work. It's what I'm doing in a pinch here. We'll let that RTV dry up. We'll throw it back on, see if we have any vacuum leaks. But I am thoroughly impressed with that 2-jet. It fires up, it idles. Fuel pump's working, it's running. All right, so our 2-jet is back on. Hopefully that gasket's gonna seal up. It's a little chilly here this morning. It's somewhere between 30 to 35 degrees out right now, maybe a little warmer than that. But we're gonna go ahead and cold start this thing, see how it wants to fire up and idle. If everything seems like it's functioning right, we don't have a gasket leak or anything like that, maybe we'll go take this thing for a rip. So far so good. We'll let it fully come up on temp here, but checking around, doesn't seem like we have any vacuum leaks anymore. It's idling nice. Maybe we might be ready to roll here. One thing this truck does not get enough credit for is how much heat it produces in a very short amount of time. This truck gets warm quick. Probably has to do with the little tiny radiator that's in it, but it gets warm pretty quick. It's rather nice. Struggled to find third there for whatever reason. Thoroughly impressed up to this point. I'll actually be nice to it here and put a little 89. I was going to put non-ethanol in it, but I'm going to be running this a bunch. Now that it's back up and running again, I guess we'll see how it fills here. I don't want to go wide open right out of the gate. It does leak a little bit apparently. I think that's just because I don't have a good enough hose clamp on that front side. Is it bad that I'm just waiting for the tank to just go boom and just be laying on the ground?
nuts, baby. That's the way to go.
Well, the old Dodge survived her test run. I tell you what, for not really messing with the carb that much, this thing runs great. I think I put like 5.5, maybe 6 gallons of fuel in it at the gas station because I put 5 in it while I was here at home. And fuel tank hasn't fallen out of it, so I'm gonna call that a win. Get out in the garage, start wrenching on your projects. Your dreams will not work unless you do. And hey, if you're working on something, let me know down in the comment section on what you guys are working on. I'd love to hear it. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time here on Boneyard Revivals. Take care. Someone should have told Grandpa that he could have just bought a Chevy instead of this Dodge. Oh well, that's cool, Grandpa. I'll fix it.